Hi, everyone, and thanks for being with me on this very wet Adelaide day, beginning of gather round. And I'm going to the football tonight, but I do not know what it's going to be like because it's pissing down with rain right at this moment. Lots to talk about, but before I start, I just need to be able to say to you, I've got a new introduction. And that's it. Isn't it wonderful? Trying to just upgrade myself a little bit more by putting something together that is a little bit more interesting than what I had before. So I am doing a live feed today. If you happen to watch this before 1 o'clock, I am doing a live feed with Avery at 1 instead of 3 today because I have another commitment, namely football, and I have to get into the city for that. So, but I've got so much to talk about in relation to what's been happening in the US, in Iran, in the Middle East, and everywhere else around the world. But to kick us off with this, I've got two interesting clips from Andrew Bolt and his son, James Bolt. So two Bolts on Sky News. One, as if one wasn't enough, we've now got two of the bastards telling us how they view the world in a very distorted fashion. So we're going to talk about the ceasefire in Iran, in the Middle East at this moment, and what that actually does mean for the world, and particularly what it means in terms of Trump's endeavours to be able to implement a war which was completely unnecessary in the first instance, and which he has basically conceded defeat, I think, at this particular point in time. So we'll talk about that in just a moment, but I'll just show you these two clips from these two crazy related people, Andrew and James. So here's the first one from James. Now, James works for an independent think tank, which, given that it's so right-wing, is kind of an oxymoron, but nevertheless, and he's now on Sky News. He's got his own show called The James Bolt Show, funnily enough, and he is talking about how wonderful, how amazing Donald Trump has been, what a clever genius Donald Trump is for basically winning this war. This is what he had to say.
Well, Donald Trump has his ceasefire, as we all suspected he would, and there are three things you need to know about it. Let's take a look. All right, so the big story in the news today, thankfully, we do have a ceasefire. Donald Trump announcing on Truth Social, based on conversations with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Field Marshal Asim Munir of Pakistan, and wherein they requested that I hold off the destructive force being sent tonight to Iran, and subject to the Islamic Republic of Iran agreeing to the complete, immediate.
We need to remember at this point that it was just a couple of days ago that Donald Trump was going to wipe the country of the Persian people, that he was going to cause destruction like we've never seen before, that he articulated a genocide against a group of people. So he and Netanyahu must feel pretty happy with themselves, really, because both of them are working on genocides, one in Gaza and the other one in Iran. And the question is, was this really a win for Trump? I don't think it was, but this dickhead clearly does.
And safe opening, I love how he always does the all caps, of the Strait of Hormuz. I agree to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. There will be a double-sided ceasefire. The reason for doing so is that we have already met and exceeded all military objectives and are very far along with the definitive agreement concerning long-term peace with Iran and peace in the Middle East. We received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it is a workable basis on which to negotiate.
Now, just on that very point. So, remembering that this war was started because Trump wanted them to stop the enrichment of uranium. He didn't want them to have a bomb. He wanted to eradicate Iran of their regime. He wanted the people of Iran to rise up against the regime and take control of their country. These are the three issues that were vitally important to Donald Trump. None of them, zero of them, have been met. Absolutely zero. And as a result of all of that, we are in a situation now where it is fair to say Donald Trump has capitulated. He hasn't won this war, a war which he started. And we must always remember that. It wasn't started by Iran. Iran's a terrible, terrible, terrible regime. We know all of that. But, we should also remember that this is not about, or should never be about, wiping out a whole race of people, particularly, I guess, any people, but, Persian people who have a culture that needs to be cemented and needs to be recognized rather than one which should be, according to Trump, destroyed. All of that would be a war crime, adding to all the other war crimes that Trump has committed to this particular point. So this clown here goes on to say,
ceasefire that turns into lasting peace is good for the world. Now, I was hoping that would end.
Well, he shouldn't have friggin' started in the first place, you moron.
In the fall of the regime, but that does not seem likely. But the next best thing is that there is a stability in Iran with a people that are treated professionally, and there are no nuclear weapons or no possibility of nuclear.
I do have to say, I love the way James is the way they've got it set up. He's kind of sitting underneath the desk. I think it's the most peculiar setup for a TV studio, one with the expertise that Sky have, I guess. But it seems to be so small and insignificant in this, which probably kind of says it all, really.
Weapons, nothing going towards nuclear weapons, which Donald Trump says we're on the table for. So that Truth Social post shows what Trump and his administration have been saying for weeks. A message definitely not amplified by parts of the media, that America has been achieving decisive victory after decisive victory. A regime that was happy to goad Trump online a week ago is now coming to the negotiating table and giving America what it wants. And also for there to be at least two.
Okay, enough said about that, because they haven't got what they wanted. None of the objectives that they started with have been achieved. Absolutely zero. And I think we need to acknowledge the fact that it's been a miserable failure, because at the end of the day, Donald Trump's just got bloody bored with this whole event. Donald Trump doesn't care about anybody else but himself. He's had this notion around Iran for decades, the same way that he's had these issues around tariffs. They go back to the 80s. And he just wanted to do something about it because all other presidents have said this isn't worth it, that they're not going to win. This isn't going to be, the reality is this isn't going to be Venezuela. It isn't going to be about walking in and taking over a country, which is what he anticipated would happen. So I want to know who's sitting behind Donald Trump telling him that this stuff's okay. Pete Hegseth is a disgraceful, disgusting human being, a sycophant to Trump. And at what point are people going to turn against Trump and say, look, enough's enough. You can't do this shit anymore. You've got to stop trying to want to take over countries. He has diminished the United States standing in the world. And there's a lot of people talking now about the dismantling of the United States sense of exceptionalism, because it no longer exists in the world. The countries, as I predicted a long time ago, long before this war even started, I predicted that countries will choose to find other alliances, other agreements with other nations in order to consolidate a reliable set of trading partners, a reliable set of defense treaties, a different view of the world. Now, Trump has brought that about to the detriment of the United States. They will become more and more isolated now. We know that on the Strait of Hormuz, a situation which didn't exist before this war, Iran has control over what passes through the strait. They will be making money from all of this. This wasn't the case before the war was declared. This wasn't the case before Trump decided to invade or attack Iran. We know that airstrikes do not work. They had to put troops on the ground. They are reluctant to do that simply because they know the casualty rate would be exceptionally high. This is a disaster for Trump. But then we have further clowns like the elder Bolt talking about it in these terms.
But first, and about just that, well, shock and surprise, there's a ceasefire in the Iran war after just 5 weeks. Both the US and Iran have agreed to a 2-week ceasefire while they talk peace. And the Strait of Hormuz is meanwhile open to oil tankers again. And that's almost bang on the schedule Donald Trump gave on day 3 of this war.
We projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have...
Donald Trump projects 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks on such a regular basis that you think it's the only type of time frame this man has in his head. But, you know, people like Bolt, these sycophants on Sky News, who seem to think that this is a stroke of genius, when in actual fact it's a complete and miserable failure for the United States, that none of this was necessary, should never have happened. The Strait was available to everybody prior to this, and now Iran has got the power and almost the authority to deal with whatever passes through that strait and charge them, provide a toll for every ship that goes through the strait. This is not a win. This is a disaster. And we must remember that the United States has also lost a number of their service people as a result of this unnecessary war. So just a little bit more of A. Bolt and see what else he has to say.
Capability to go far longer than that.
In fact is, this ceasefire puts the lie to so much of what you were told by Trump-hating journalists and politicians. And
just want to say, I'm a Trump. I don't like the word hating, but certainly, as you've probably noticed, a Trump critic, because the man is just friggin' insane. And why these morons on Sky News can't see this level of insanity is kind of bewildering.
And activists and assorted experts, remember how you were told this would be the forever war, how this was a quagmire, how it was Trump's Vietnam War, with Trump having no plan or off-ramp, all those predictions which have now been proved wrong. But watch now.
No, you friggin' moron. They haven't been proved wrong. Firstly, this is only a ceasefire. Secondly, we don't know how this is going to resolve itself and whether or not the United States is going to agree to the 10 points that have been put forward by Iran. We don't know that. We haven't got the answer in there. This may go on for a long time. And the other question, or the other thing we need to note, that morons like Bolt don't seem to understand, is that Netanyahu wants to continue this fight. He wants to wipe these people out. Netanyahu, the genocidal maniac, wants to wipe out everybody that threatens their country. And even Israel is also, as a result of all of these efforts, is becoming more and more isolated from the rest of the world. The United States and Israel are pariahs in the world geopolitical scene. They are pariahs, and there needs to be something to be done about them. And the rest of the world is saying, "Bugger you! I'm going to decide to do my own thing and incorporate and improve my alliances with other countries apart from the US. You will suffer, and Trump will suffer, and eventually some people are going to have to say Trump has to go. They're going to have to declare him insane or something in order to get rid of him, because 2 more years of this crap is not going to be good for the United States, and it's certainly not going to be good for the world. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Remember to subscribe to my channel, ring the bell for further notifications. I would really appreciate that. In the meantime, I just need to say, look after yourself. Take care of yourself.